What's up everyone and welcome on back to the channel. Paramount's merger officially closed last week, and with that came a ton of news, like how we're getting a new Top Gun movie, a new Star Trek movie, and a new Transformers movie with Michael Bay potentially returning. And that is not a good idea. Transformers, the once billion-dollar franchise, used to be Paramount's moneymaker, and recently they have not made a ton of money without Michael Bay, with movies like Bumblebee, Rise of the Beasts, and Transformers 1. Paramount is likely seeing that Michael Bay is the missing piece of the puzzle here and thinks that bringing him back will bring back the billion-dollar movies and return them to their former glory of making a shit ton of money and having a shit ton of shots of just random shit exploding, even when it doesn't make sense. But that will not work out, because the movie landscape and box office landscape have changed drastically since he last had a movie come out. His brand name is tarnished, and there's a much bigger problem with Transformers that Paramount refuses to believe for why these movies aren't hitting anymore, even though the answer is right in front of them. But before we get into all of that, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I do daily TV and film takes and do deep dives on the film and TV industry every single week, so if you're into any of that, please subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, but let's get into it. And now I'll give credit where credit is due. Michael Bay definitely brought Transformers into the mainstream with his first movie all the way back in 2007. I personally do not like Michael Bay, but he was cooking with that first movie, and because of it, it started an entire generation of Transformers fans. However, he also set the franchise in motion to fail. He was very successful at the box office up until Age of Extinction. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Ben, Age of Extinction was actually very profitable. It made $1.1 billion at the box office, which that is all true. But if you look deeply at the box office numbers, it shows that there was a problem with Michael Bay's Transformers, and that movie would not have been successful if not for China. Not only was Age of Extinction a shit movie, but it was actually the lowest domestic release at $245 million, $100 million less than Dark of the Moon. International box office wise, it wasn't doing well either and was actually down by $50 million without China. This movie was overall performing worse than its predecessor, but it had a great opening in China with $301 million, which was almost double that of Dark of the Moon. Interest in Transformers was actually waning worldwide, but the Chinese box office made Paramount think differently and they kept Michael Bay around, and that's how we got the piece of shit that was The Last Knight. Which that was so bad that not even the Chinese box office could save it. In China, it made $200 million, and without China's box office, that film made less than $400 million worldwide. The whole general public was done with Michael Bay, but he was saved solely because of China. And you might be asking, why does that matter now? Well, it's because China is not a reliable box office anymore. The Chinese box office was a cash cow in the 2010s, becoming the second largest movie market after the United States. China was saving so many movies, turning flops into hits, like with the piece of shit that was Warcraft, which had $225 million in China alone, but in the States it only made $45 million. But now China has drastically changed. No film does that well over there anymore. The Batman made only $25 million, Rise of the Beasts made only $91 million, even the last Fast and Furious movie, which was a staple in China, only made $139 million, where the last one did over $200 million, but then the one before it did $400 million. China helped out so many of these movies. Why do you think we don't see billion-dollar movies anymore? We had 9 films in 2019 hit $1 billion. Last year, we only had 3, and the year before that, we only had 2. China has completely shifted in terms of the box office, and it's been pushing their own films instead of relying on US films, like for instance, Ne Zha 2. That is the highest grossing movie of the year right now, with over $1.8 billion at the box office. All of that is from China, and I'm sure you've probably never heard of this film before. The Chinese market saved Michael Bay, and it definitely won't save him again in the future now that things have changed. And on top of all of that, the entire box office is down as well, for various reasons, like how the pandemic shifted audience behavior with streaming and VOD, and now they're working to bring them back, or how tickets have gotten really expensive. Either way, it does not look good for Michael Bay to return when the general audience stopped trusting him with Transformers over 10 years ago. And it's not just Transformers that the general public doesn't trust Michael Bay with. They don't trust Michael Bay at all because he has completely ruined his own brand. Was Michael Bay ever a great director to begin with Armageddon or Pearl Harbor or Pain and Gain? Not really. But he was a director that people knew they were going to have a good and fun time with, no matter how dumb the plot was. But recently, Michael Bay has leaned into a few too many of his tendencies with bad dialogue and stupid plots that overshadow some of his really good action sequences with both Six Underground and Ambulance. Six Underground was laughably bad, it had the dumbest fucking plot, and if you're looking for a fun drinking game, take a shot every single time the continuity fucks up and Dave Franco loses his hat and then regains it in the next shot, all during the opening sequence. You will be blackout drunk in 10 minutes, I guarantee it. Do you want to know how terrible Six Underground was? It did pretty well on Netflix, but it was such a piece of shit that even Netflix decided to cancel the sequel because they didn't get there creatively with the first one. Do you know how shitty your movie has to be for fucking Netflix to say it was bad? The guys who made The Electric State? Do you know how big of an insult that is? And then he got another shot at the box office and completely blew it with Ambulance. Ambulance bombed, making only $50 million on a budget of 40, and that movie had some of the greatest drone shots ever recorded on film. I don't like Michael Bay, but goddamn, those were such good shots. And Ambulance wasn't reviewed terribly. Was it a great movie? No. Did it have scenes that felt like Jake Gyllenhaal did a line of cocaine before every single scene? Yes. Did it also have a scene where he says he has herpes in a throwaway line for no reason? Also yes. But despite those amazing reasons I just mentioned, people did not show up to go see Ambulance because people no longer give a shit about Michael Bay. His name used to mean something that drew people in, where they knew that they would have a fun time at the movies. But now, after almost 20 years of delivering mostly slop, that is what the general audience now attributes him with. And you do not want that slop associated with a brand new Transformers film set to kickstart or reboot a franchise. So Michael Bay probably won't be able to save Transformers. And you might be asking, who can save Transformers? Honestly, probably no one, and that is what Paramount has to reckon with. Transformers has unfortunately lost all interest in the public eye after way too many terrible movies, and even their good movies weren't enough to change the public's mind and make them come back. Bumblebee came out and was really great, the best live-action Transformers movie ever, and yet people didn't show up to go see it. Bumblebee also had a great advantage of costing a whole lot less, but unfortunately it came out right after the piece of shit that was The Last Knight and probably killed any momentum that it had. Rise of the Beast came out and despite okay reviews, it still did very poorly too, grossing less than Bumblebee and it cost a whole lot more than Bumblebee. And then we had the travesty that was Transformers 1, which was the best Transformers film ever made, garnering amazing reviews, but unfortunately it bombed at the box office, making only $129 million worldwide. At the end of the day, these are facts. The general public does not care about Transformers anymore. And look, I love Transformers. I saw Revenge of the Fallen 5 times in theaters. Mostly because I worked at a movie theater and I got free tickets, which was cool, but my friends abused the fuck out of my privilege and they are cheap as shit. So I saw that movie 5 goddamn times. Do you know what that movie does to a man's brain? But people clearly do not care anymore, and the best possible solution is to put it on ice for like a decade. People need time away from these movies. Paramount genuinely messed up the Transformers brand with a lot of bad movies, but also a lot of mixed messaging regarding the timeline and the continuity of the series. To this day, no one really understands what the universe timeline really is because Paramount keeps doing whatever the fuck they want to do and they keep reacting to every single film's box office performance. This continuity makes Fox's X-Men look like the most planned out series ever made. Transformers came to Earth for the first time in 2007, but oh wait, never mind, they actually came with the caveman and then they left. But wait, hold on, they were actually there with the dinosaurs. Oh, well, hold on, they were actually there during medieval times as well. Bumblebee, yeah, he came to Earth in 2007, but he also fought Hitler in World War II, but he also came to Earth in the 80s with no memory of coming to Earth. And then they had the unrelated prequel origin movie that was phenomenal, but was mismarketed, and I'm sure people were also confused about this movie, unsure if it was in the same timeline of the live-action Transformers movie, and they didn't want to go see it, or they just didn't care to go see it, and it's likely the latter. Transformers needs to go away for just a little while. Don't even think about it again for around 5 years. Let people forget about Michael Bay and Transformers altogether. Then after 5 years, start. Don't release a movie in 5 years. Just start making it, start developing it, and make it a real reboot. None of this soft reboot shit they've been doing that's just been confusing people. And I really hope they do figure this out, because I would love to see a good Transformers movie that people actually show up to go watch. We got Transformers 1 and no one went, and it fucking sucked. I hope they look at the new Energon comics for material to help reboot this. Now, I've only read 5 issues because that's all my local library has. Support your local library. But that shit was amazing. I heard great things about it. I had sky high expectations, and it was so good. Some things need to go away, and that is okay. But unfortunately, I don't think Paramount will do this, and they will go back to their old habits, even though they have completely new owners. But hey, I am willing to be surprised, and I hope that I am. And I just hope that Michael Bay is not involved in the new Transformers movies. Please don't forget to like this video and drop a comment about your thoughts on Michael Bay and this whole thing. Once again, please don't forget to subscribe. If you do, I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.